Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. I'm very excited to welcome a very special guest with ties to Rhode Island. Heather Henson, RISD grad and daughter of Muppeteer Jim Henson, is joining us to talk about her premiere of her show here at Ajijic on Turtle Island next week. Heather, thank you so much for taking the time to Skype in.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. And I'm so excited to be coming to Providence, Rhode Island. It is such a lovely city. I love that town and that community.
Is it a little bit of it's a homecoming of sorts for you to get back to your college days?
Definitely is a homecoming. I lived in Providence for a number of years after I graduated from RISD, and I loved it. I lived downtown. I did a lot of work in downtown Providence, in the theaters down there, and in some of the public areas. Yeah, I loved it down there. I love the community.
Well, we're so excited to have you back to premiere this production through First Works, but I want to bring folks up to speed with you and your artistry and your company, Ibex Puppetry, and really the vision and what the theme that runs through everything that you put out there through Ibex. So maybe introduce viewers who might not know to a little bit more about Ibex.
Okay, it's a puppet company that I started. I actually started this work when I was in Providence. After I graduated from RISD, I went and I was working at the Rhode Island Zoo, and I was really interested in doing any kind of shows that were going to be teaching people about the environment and animals and their relationship to the environment. And I think one of my first shows I ever did was for Save the Bay of Narragansett, right? Save the Bay right there in Providence, and we did a show about the estuaries and the saltwater brackish marshes, and it was about, I'd done it all, found art. Gathered up materials from the brackish marsh and then performed like the swaying grasses and birds from those marshes. And I did that for Save the Bay. And but all the shows, and then I did another one related to the zoo, but not quite with the zoo, but it was about the reintroduction of the wolves into Yellowstone. I did that with some zoo associate community members. So the shows have always been puppetry, but with an environmental message, and really making them. The puppets are often made out of natural materials, and the process of making the show has been an environmental experience, often going on site visits to the landscape that we're trying to describe with the puppets, and kind of dancing with nature. That's kind of the thinking behind a lot of it. So there have always been environmental theater pieces.
And an environmental theme that we will see next week here in Providence as well. Talk a little bit about Ajijic on Turtle Island with Ty Defoe. Talk with us about partnering with Ty and putting this production together.
Yeah. So if I'm going to, in this process of working in environmental works, it really led me to working with in Native American communities, because if you're going to understand, know about our own ecosystem, you really have to work with the First Nations communities that know these systems so well. So Ty Defoe is, he was a fellow classmate at CalArts. After I went to RISD, then I did my grad work at CalArts, California Institute of the Arts, and then that is where I met Ty Defoe. He was an actor in the program, and I was in scenic design. And we met each other there, and then eventually it took us a little while, but then we started to collaborate later. And this show was devised with a number of the Native American community members of New York City, and it was devised with the community. But then it turned into something that then Ty really just wrote this whole story, and he wove into it much of his knowledge and his background into the show, and pulled from, worked with the stories that were being woven into this story of a coming-of-age story of this whooping crane. So it has been developed over a long time with a lot of input from Native American community members that were living in New York City, and then filtered over this show. This relationship with Ty has been over about 3 shows. Flight a Crane Story, Crane on Earth and Sky, a few of them, and then this one, Ajijic on Turtle Island.
So to the average person who is excited to have you back here in Providence to come see the show, you talk about the length of leading up to this type of production. But I mean, let's talk about the puppetry and the costumery and what it entails to put together a production of this scope and sort of that day-to-day operations that most folks, you see this beautiful production and might not know what went into it.
Okay. Well, my puppets have taken kind of a range. So when I mentioned the ones we did for Save the Bay, a lot of those were just found objects. I was working with driftwood and like some grasses and weaving them together, and they were kind of cobbled together found art nature pieces. And then some stuff I was building, but I have to say now at this point I am now working, these puppets are now all being made by the Jim Henson Company workshop, which is in Queens, New York. And so these puppets are now being crafted by amazing artists that work in my family's puppet company. So under the tutelage, we have a number of great designers there, Jason Weber and Melissa Crichton. They mastermind it, but there's so many artists that work in the shop, and we try to credit them. Like in the program, you can see there's a name behind every puppet that's on stage. So these puppets, there's some very big ones that are made. That there's a very large turtle that's huge, and it kind of comes apart, and many people perform it. There's a very big, there's some very big things, and then very small things too. We like to work with scale. We like to work with materials. So you'll see some of these. So when I mentioned I started by making them out of natural wood, at this point, things are kind of made out of more durable materials, but sometimes they are still looking like they're made out of natural materials. And having the puppets reflect the environment is very important to me. So some of the puppets look like they're coming from the trees, and some of them look like they're coming from the grasslands. And so there's a lot of that kind of awareness of the material that we're using that's in the puppets too.
And so let's talk about folks who might be interested in going to the premiere here next week. It's going to be on Thursday and Friday, an all ages show.
Yes, it's really important that it's all ages. Actually, we've really tried to make this reach across from like the grandkids to the grandmas to the wide range. We try to speak to everybody. I think also messages about the environment are things that we all need to know. All ages, we are all living on this planet. We all need to find how to live harmoniously on this planet with all of our neighbors, all of our animal neighbors and plant neighbors, and we're all connected. So I really want this show to be a show that all ages can come to. So we've been playing it to both young and old. Young and old, and it worked. We want to bridge that gap.
And let's talk a little bit about those young folks who come out to check out your productions. I mean, we live in such a digital world right now, and a lot of, especially the youth, it's kind of what they might sort of gravitate towards. But this must be for kids who go to a show or to see this puppetry of such magnitude. It must be completely eye-opening and mind-blowing to sort of see the intricacy and the real-life stage production that, even in this digital world, is probably more important than ever.
Yeah, well, we hope so. We're doing some fun audience interaction too, some call and response, and we're realizing it's really fun to do that with. We find that the kid audiences definitely want that experience of calling back and singing back with us. And again, that's also part of the messaging of the show, that it takes all of us, all of our voices to, we all have to speak up and start gathering our collective voices to make movement and change on this planet. So yeah, I do think that that's one of the reasons I like puppets too, that it's tactile, it's real. That's why I like theater. It's actual. You actually have real people on stage that you can interact with, call and response, things that you can see. So so we're not just looking at our screens. So it is definitely. We also trying to make it more all around you, sensory. We have kites that are flying overhead, and we try to get cast members to come and be around you and interact with you. So we're trying to make it, because we need all of our senses to enjoy and experience life, and theater can do that, and I do think that some of the screen time is, you're so limited by this image and the sound that's coming from here. So we're definitely trying to make it more all expansive, an experience to bring people into and move through.
Well, we'll provide plenty of links so folks can find out where to get tickets, the times of the performances. It's going to be taking place in the new Moses Brown Auditorium.
Yeah.
So while we have you here, and before we let you go, I'm going to ask you, did you always know you were going to get into puppetry?
You know, I didn't. I had to tell you, when I was at RISD, I really wanted to be an animator and an illustrator. And I was going for that animation, illustration. And then it's kind of, I took my animation and then I decided to do a puppet show version of it right after I graduated. And I was like, wait, I like this medium so much better. It's more immediate. I can make it and I can talk to my audience right afterward. I can put life into it as I'm making it. And all of a sudden that time frame, because animation, you make it well ahead of time and then it performs later, and it's great. I love animation still, but there's something so alive about puppetry. You build it like a sculpture, and then you perform it like an actor, and it's a great combination of design and performance, both. It's a great medium, and I think there's actually some great classes at RISD on puppetry. Arminio Pinque is there, doing some great puppet work in Providence. So I didn't really, it's kind of funny. I think I wanted to do something else when I was in school, but I immediately went right back to it. I love it.
Maybe it was in your DNA, just a little bit. And about your father and his sort of lasting legacy, I mean, tell us a little bit, maybe something about your father that, you know, everyone knows of him, but I mean, he's your dad. Is there anything that you want folks to really know, that sort of real insight into Jim?
Wow. Well, let me see if I can bring it back to this show that my dad, well, he did really want me to go to RISD, one thing. That's kind of, he was really pushing for me to go to RISD.
I like that.
And he always made sure when he came back to the house, because often he was working like out, you know, in London and in Toronto. But when he came home, like the first thing he did was he would make sure to do like a really long walk in nature with us. And he would gather up with the kids and the dogs and anyone that wanted to go with him. And we would take like an hour walk into the woods and just to get grounded into nature. And it was a really great thing that he did every time he got home. He did that. He would like put his bags down and go out for a walk with the kids, and it was really good. I still try to do that when I can. You know, it's hard to find the time, but it's important.
Well, it's clear that the nature sort of stuck with you and infused in your work and productions. And we very much look forward to having you here again, a little bit of a homecoming, if you will, back in Providence. Anything else you might want viewers to know about the production or what to expect next week when you're here?
What can I say? Well, one thing I love about Providence in Rhode Island were all of the shores and the coastal shores with the water. And so there's a water theme, too, in the show. So maybe that's something that's, like, special for, you know, Rhode Island, the state with the most coastline ever. So, yeah, that's it. And I do love Rhode Island. I love Moses Brown School. It's a beautiful space. It's a great, you guys have an amazing town there. We love it. And so I'm thrilled to be coming back to it.
Well, we look forward to having you in next week again through First Works at Gijac on Turtle Island. Heather Henson in conjunction with Ty Defoe. We look forward to welcoming you back to Providence. And thank you very much for taking the time to Skype in with us because we know you are very busy.
Thank you.
Okay, Heather Henson, we're going to let you go, and that just wraps up another day here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Be sure to tune in on Monday when CEO Josh Fenton is back for Business Monday and Rhode Island Small Business Fuel. But in the meantime, check out GoLocal over the weekend online and on Facebook. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.